Well, hello, backcountry.church. I am so excited today. We're doing a conversation with Brian Toone. And Brian, thanks so much for being here. We have incredible amount of stories to tell and facts to tell. But hey, again, thank you for watching this. And this is going to be an amazing conversation. So I want to just start by introducing Brian. Brian, you're married with 2 kids.
That's right. That's right.
And I believe one is in college and one is finishing up high school.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Wow. Brian is into Fast and Furious. And we're not talking about cars. Brian loves to go far and he loves to go fast. He is an avid bike rider. And I'm telling you, as we talk about this, you've got some significant awards and rides and stuff behind you, but I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. So Brian, he started this bike riding when you were in high school in Alabama. And of course, you continue that when you were at Clemson and UC Davis, which is in California. And then you really took off. This is the strange part. It really took off when you started your assistant professorship position teaching bike riding. No, you teach computer science.
Yes.
And you're an avid, but okay, we'll come back to that. You are at Samford, not Stanford,
Mm-hmm.
but Samford University.
We actually sell a T-shirt in our bookstore that says Sam, not Stan.
That's good. I love it. And you raced semi-professionally for about a decade, 2005 to 2015, while you're teaching full-time, with your best results coming in at 9th place in the overall USA Crits. Did I say that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Series in 2010, as well as some top finishes in the national championship. Let me list some of your accomplishments. To date, as Brian said, Race Across America in 2015, you were the 7th overall winner.
7th place.
Again, in 2017, when you were the 3rd overall winner.
Mm-hmm.
You've also done the Tour Divide bike packing race and finished in 11th place. And that was done in 2022. And that is 2,715 miles from Canada to Mexico.
Yes. And that's mostly off-road. I think it's 90% dirt and then about 10% pavement. So that was actually quite a bit more challenging than the Race Across America, just because of unsupported and the conditions. Right. But that was earlier this summer.
You've ridden in 5 countries: the USA, Canada, Mexico, Nicaragua, and New Zealand. Mm-hmm. I want to hear about that. And then here's what's fascinating. You actually have ridden in just up to about 1,000 counties out of the approximate 3,300 counties in the United States. In fact, I have a picture of that on the screen right now. You can take a look at that. That is absolutely amazing. And some of these counties are just randomly put there. Wow. So do you ride in teams or do you ride solo? What do you like to do?
So when I was doing a lot of racing, I always raced on teams. So for that 2005 to 2015, that decade of semi-pro, that was always, you race on teams and that kind of event. Just like in Tour de France, they have teams. But starting in 2015, when I switched over to more the bike packing and long distance racing, that's more of, one, there's not as many people doing that. So locally, there are a few people who do ride long distances, but normally when you're doing something long like that, it's really hard to get schedules to line up and, you're free this weekend? No. Are you free? To get that. So a lot of that stuff I just do all on my own.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second. So at backcountry.church, our mission statement is helping people connect with God, others, and themselves through the enjoyment of nature. Of course, you are riding through nature most of the time. When you're by yourself for that long, what's it like?
It is amazing. Of course, now I always love riding someplace new. I mean,
Right.
the exploration, the seeing something you haven't seen before. To me, that is just so amazing. Just see, especially something like Tour Divide, which is the not exactly the West Coast, but the Rocky Mountains, going down through the Rocky Mountains, snow, a lot of snow in June. That doesn't happen in Alabama. You rarely get snow in January. So to be hiking through feet and feet of snow in June was just crazy. I mean, but so that's one thing, is just seeing just these amazing things. But I will say that even on my local things, when I was training in 2015 to do that first race across America, I did all my training that year in Alabama. I actually rode in all the counties in Alabama in that year. And that was phenomenal as well. Just going and seeing, right. I mean, even sometimes just doing the same route over and over again. But I did see a lot of different parts of the state. But on top of that, seeing just some of the same stuff over and over again, there's always something new that you can find, and that's just like, oh wow, look at that. I didn't realize that was there, that waterfall or that tree. One example of that, one example of that was this. So back, I guess this would have been late 2014. We don't actually have any national parks here in Alabama. We have a few national forests, right. And then one or two national wildlife refuges. Sure. But we don't have any like national parks or anything like that. But in one of those national forests, I stumbled upon this recreation area, this like sort of abandoned. I mean, it wasn't officially abandoned, but I hit it. It hadn't been upkept in a long time. So grass was super tall, but there was this paved sidewalk. And I'm like, where does this, where does this go? And it took me down into this natural bridge. And so what it was is there's this rock, I don't know how to describe it. There's this rock outcropping that makes this bridge across the ridge. It's up high. And then you essentially have this cave underneath it. And through that cave, there's this one single tree that is actually very tall, growing up through the middle, up above the bridge, but between the cave and the bridge. So right there. And it was phenomenal. And I felt like, I can't remember the name, but like an early explorer stumbling on something, and it was so beautiful. It was so amazing to see that. So those are the things that just really kind of
is just like wow.
Yes.
Now, when you're out there, situations like this, don't you get lonely?
Well. That's a tricky question.
By the way, I'm not a counselor or a psychologist.
No. As I've gotten older, my family is so important to me, and my adventures have gotten longer, and I do find myself like missing my family. Sure. And so to that extent, lonely, yes. Much more so than say 15 years ago, so it is, and I don't know how much of that is just because, we've just how we've grown as a family, but then also, my adventures have gotten longer. so you're away for longer, but also, the other thing I was going to say, is, there's a lot of logistics in some of these types of things. So your mind is kind of constantly
focus on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like just on that. I mean, and then again, there's so much out there, but just in the navigational aspect of bike riding, and especially riding new places, I mean, you can go hours just trying to go the right way, and you realize, oh, look, I'm 3 hours later now. So yeah.
Well, versus hiking, which is what I basically what I do, is on biking, you're on a machine, and it's got two wheels. And so you got to be paying attention to that. And of course, all that's going on. Speaking of that, when you did the Tour Divide this year, and that's the 2,700 miles, and where does that go? Where does it start and end?
So Banff, Canada. So that's in Alberta, right there in the Rocky Mountains.
Middle, right? Here, let's put up a picture on the screen, and I'll show you here. There you go. Now you see that, and it starts way up in the kind of the middle of Canada. And my goodness, it goes all the way down to Mexico. That looks like on the border of Mexico.
Right there on the border, there's a small town. The name of the border crossing is Antelope Wells. It's the smallest border crossing in the U.S. I think there's only about a handful of people who cross there every day. But that's the official end.
So I need to ask you this question. You rode this, and it's amazing, and I mean, you did an incredible, and then the race was over.
Yes.
And then you rode 1,300 miles toward your house.
Towards the house. Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
What were you thinking?
Well, so that's one of those logistical things. But that's actually part of it too. So my daughter starting college right now. She had just graduated, or she had just finished high school, had mentioned about wanting to go to Canada. And my wife has always wanted to go to Banff. I mean, her background is in ski racing, and Banff is right there in the Rocky Mountains. And and so she knew. I didn't really know about it, but she knew about the area and had wanted to go there. And my son's always up for an adventure, so we just road tripped it. So left the end of May, went through all the national parks, Badlands, and that were kind of on the route up there. Badlands, Yellowstone, Devil's Tower. We hit all those on the way up to Banff. I told my wife before the race even started, this is already a win. This is already amazing. I mean, it was incredible. Just how much, what a good time we had, and bonding as a family, and the things we saw along the way. But they had to come back, and I was going to do the race.
Right.
So I had to get home somehow. And so my thinking was, I'll just ride home.
Now, you told the funniest story when we were talking earlier. So you're a professor, you had the summers off, and
yes,
a lot of schools have gone to taking, 2 weeks off at Christmas. Depends on the semester, quarter, and all that, where it lands. Same thing with Thanksgiving. Most schools have off the week of Thanksgiving these days, but at one point in time, you didn't have the week off. You had, I think it was Wednesday and Thursday, but your family was heading toward Michigan,
right,
for Thanksgiving.
Right.
What did tell me that story?
Yes, I still rank that as just the most. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't by no means was it the hardest ride I've ever done. Not even in the top 10, but it still is. I just can't believe I did that.
So,
but
what did you do?
So I biked into school on Monday, taught my classes, went home. And my family had already driven all the way up there. And so I had mentioned that I'll just I'll teach my classes because I had Monday, Tuesday classes. I'll teach my Tuesday class. So I taught my class on Monday, came back in the next day, taught my class on Tuesday.
And for context, you're in Birmingham, Alabama.
Right.
And they're in Michigan.
Right.
So you left school on Wednesday?
Tuesday.
On Tuesday after classes.
Right. Rode in, taught my classes, rode out the back of campus, headed north. I only stopped once. I stopped in Fort Knox. I mean, I stopped, at gas station. Yeah, stopped at gas, to refill and everything, which were, the ones that were open. Because that's the other thing, is this is right at Thanksgiving. Everything was closed on Thanksgiving itself. But, so I stopped at gas stations, but then I spent the night in a hotel in Fort Knox. And that was day one. I was like 300 and I need to look that up. It was like 350-ish, 375 miles.
Wow.
And then the next day I finished the ride. The next day was Thanksgiving proper.
Right.
I finished that ride all the way up.
Skip Thanksgiving altogether? You didn't really eat much, or did you?
No. So my family, my extended family, my wife's family, they were going to and this was completely apart from me. So it worked out well. But they were going to celebrate Thanksgiving dinner and everything on Friday. So I just needed to be up there by Thursday, which was, is actual Thanksgiving. So here I am riding in very rural parts of Indiana. And a gas station closed, next gas station closed. Ooh. And I am trying to find them out of water. Of course, it was really cold. So being out of water was not the end of the world, but I was getting really hungry. I hadn't eaten in a while, and I come into I come across this one hill, and I'm going down to the Wabash River, and I knew that there was a very small town there, and I was like, well, so I was hoping and praying too, right, that the gas station would be open, right. And I see a neon sign. And it says open. And of course, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because, people leave signs on accidentally all the time. So I'm like, so I get down there and it's totally it's like the town bar. And as far as I can tell, I wouldn't say maybe the whole town. There's about 20 people there. This town had no traffic lights, nothing. There, there was not that many houses. It was a good chunk of the town was there in the bar having Thanksgiving meal. And I mean, it was, I guess it was open to the public because, they had the line and they told me how much it was going to be, like $8 or $7.95, I think, for all you can eat Thanksgiving dinner. Wow. I was like, oh, this is a miracle right here.
That is
because I had Thanksgiving dinner. Complete strangers.
Screen here of this incredible celebration. That is amazing.
Yes.
So you got to celebrate Thanksgiving with some good folks in Indiana.
Yes.
At a bar.
Yep.
$8.
Yes. It was awesome. Absolutely. I still had 100 miles left to ride after that, but it was awesome.
And I'm assuming you walked in. You're dressed in bike gear.
Oh yeah, totally in bike clothes, everything. And that's sort of a conversation start. Like what?
Yeah, who is this guy?
But I and in fact, everybody just kind of turned and looked like what? And I just said to the whole, "Do y'all have any food?" And they're like, the one guy came over. It's like, "You are in luck. $8 or $7.95." All you can eat. And he took me over to the other side where they had the food all set up. And I'm like, thank you.
That is amazing. What an incredible story. So, by the way, we'll put it at the end here. You have a website. People can check out your adventures and follow you and what you're currently doing at toonecycling.com. We'll put that up again. Yeah. Toward the end, you've ridden again in over almost 1,000 counties, and you ever keep track of your total elevation gain? I'm just curious.
Elevation gain.
Yeah,
I know I'm at 200. I'm right. I should be crossed over like today or I don't know, very soon. I should be hitting 270,000 miles. and that's just GPS miles. So like I rode long time before I even had a GPS.
270,000
miles
that you're tracking, right? I mean,
right, that I've tracked. I would guesstimate my rough guesstimate is I'm well over 300, sort of lifetime.
right.
Probably closer to 325 even by now. Every now and then I get through and do the old stuff again, add it all up and try and figure out.
Isn't it 25,000 or 27,000 miles around the Earth?
Yeah,
something like that.
That sounds about right.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible.
Yeah. But you asked about elevation. I actually haven't tallied that in a while. I know I do about 1 million feet a year. So
elevation
of climbing. So like last year was 1.5 million. And I think this year's going to be about shorter than that 1.3.
But
if you average it all out, so it'll be about 1 million feet of climbing a year, probably over the last 20. So I would guess 20 million feet, maybe of climbing total, like lifetime, because that is, it is so hilly here. It's thousands of feet just for me to get from here. Round trip, it's going to be several thousand feet just for me to get from here to work and back.
Okay, now I feel like I need to hike a little more.
But that's biking miles. Biking miles in general are going to be quite a bit to do that kind of climbing. It's a bit faster on a bike than hiking, because I do have some hiking experience too.
By the way, at the college, you drive your car to work.
No. I haven't driven a car to work in at least a decade. And even then, basically from when I started teaching at Stanford in 2005, I really was not intending to drive to work at all. But the, those early days, I would probably end up driving a few times a semester. It was raining or nasty or something. Now I'm like, I don't care. I'm just gonna ride.
Right. So when you did the Tour Divide, that's the one that starts in Canada. We spoke of previously, and you're going down. There's I'll put this on the screen here. There's this picture of you on the road with this incredible view of the mountains. I'm not sure what mountains those are. Yeah. But what are some of the most incredible places that come to mind that you've been?
Well, that definitely stands out. I mean, one, of course, it's freshest since that was literally 2 months ago now. So the beginning of June. But still, that was incredible. Those mountains, I've been to Colorado a few times. I've been to, and those mountains are huge, and they're big and you see them. But this, it felt like, they're very sharp mountains. They come right down to the road right there. It just incredible. It's just almost overwhelming in some sense. It was like
Canada, or is this in the US?
That was still in Canada. Yes. So that's right outside of Banff. And that's all considered the Rocky Mountains. So from that all the way down, basically we're following the Continental Divide. That's why they call it the Tour Divide, is it follows the Continental Divide, from Canada all the way down to the border of Mexico, just kind of following the Rocky Mountains.
Are there any other places that just this was a moment I will never forget?
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. Closer to home, we have some pretty, Alabama's nickname is Alabama the Beautiful. That's the state nickname, and it really is incredible here. You don't have those grand, although we do, you do have a few places in the state that do get a little bit high. You get Chiha, and you get some of these sweeping views over so many trees. You're just staring out at just green as far as you can see. So you do have that here in Alabama. But my other favorite places are all up in the Smokies, the Appalachian Mountains. Every fall we've done a conference up in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and outside there you have Mount LeConte, I said Mount LeCon. It's actually not. It's Clingman's Dome. Sorry. So it's Clingman's Dome is the highest point there in Tennessee. Mount LeCon is a separate mountain you can see across the valley. But the high point is Clingman's, and it just has this incredible 360-degree view there. And many times you can get where you are actually climbing up through the clouds, and you pop out on top of the clouds, and you still keep climbing to get up to the top. And this sea of white, almost like you're in an airplane, just all below you. It is that is another spectacular place.
That is amazing. Hey, so I'm going to put a picture on the screen here. Okay. What possessed you to ride in the cold? This picture has you with ice coming off your mustache and your beard. What in the world?
Yes. Okay. So that is, that specific one was in Minnesota, outside of St. Paul. So east of St. Paul. That was actually this past, been January. So January of this year. So January of 2022. And well, so my wife's family, so she's got an extended family that are in northern Indiana, but her immediate family beyond, her parents and brothers and sisters are all in the Twin Cities part of
Don't blame it on family here. Why were you riding out in the cold? And obviously,
I'm an Alabama boy. So growing up in Alabama, I have always been fascinated with snow. That's something you might not realize about down here is we get snow every so often. Okay. And it's always something so special down here. So here we go. I'm marrying my wife, Christine, who's got her family up in Minneapolis, Wisconsin, and they get legit winters every winter, which of course, and so ever since like that first year we went up there, I rode my bike across frozen lakes. I just things that are just fascinating. You just ride your bike right across the lake, frozen lakes. And that was always just so fascinating to me. So every chance I get, whenever we go, I always take, they call them fat bikes, they have these really wide tires. Okay. So I always take my fat bike with me up there and just ride as much as I can. But it does get cold. As you can probably tell from that picture, it does get very cold.
I have never seen something actually like that. Which is why I don't live in the snow.
Yes. Hey, and I had somebody try and rescue me. They're like, "Do you need a ride somewhere?" Like, no, I'm doing fine. And I was with all those icicles and everything. Wow.
So have you ever been in an accident? Have you ever fallen or?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, that's just part of bike racing. You fall for sure. Like especially professional bike racers, their skin. I mean, they've fallen so many times, and then it's healed and everything. I imagine they can fall sometimes, and it won't even break the skin. Wow. But so I've fallen like that. But I've been hit by 2 cars. So those have been pretty bad.
When they were coming down, they didn't see you, it was head on, or
one of them was not head on, it was sideways. I actually ran into him. I think he was making that's the thing about this too, is like you get hit like this and you really don't remember much. I think he was making a U-turn and I was coming down the hill, and I don't know, I didn't see him, or I don't know what happened. I think that one probably was my fault. But then the second one, the guy hit me from behind, which is totally his fault. And that one, he never saw me. And so he was going, this is on a country road, so he's going 50 something miles an hour. And I landed in his windshield, which probably would save my life, because there's a Brian Toone imprint, like in his windshield. and that took the bulk of the impact. But what ended up happening is when he slammed on the brakes, that kind of ejected me forward.
Right.
And this is 50 miles an hour at this point. I presumably it accelerated me to what he was going, so that sliding on the ground ended up doing some pretty serious damage that I ended up in the hospital for a week on that one.
Whoa.
And I still can't, it ended up messing up my foot. So this was in 2017. I still have problems with my foot.
Wow.
Just from that, but I'm very thankful to be alive.
We're thankful that you are alive and we're doing this conversation with.
Yes.
Yeah. Accidents happen, right?
Yeah.
Same with any sport except golfing.
Yeah. Well, lightning. I used to actually play an extensive amount of golf too when I was in high school. And there were some times you push that like, yeah, it's storming, I'm going to be okay. And then here comes the storm. You're like, okay, we need to find some place to,
now,
but I get the idea.
Yeah. You had mentioned you were hit and whatever. And we know that being a computer scientist, your thought processes are succinct and so on. And I imagine you love to explore on the computer, different avenues. You ended up, I think, doing an app or something in relationship to Garmin. Now we're going to put the link right now on the screen.
Okay.
You guys can go and download this, but it is in conjunction with a device that Garmin made for the tail of the bike. And what does that device do?
So it's actually a radar. So it's a light and a radar. And what happens is that radar, you mount it on the back of the bike and it's pointing backwards. And so when a car comes, it's normally the light is either solid or flashing. But when a car comes, the radar can detect that and the light itself gets really bright. And then on top of it, it communicates up to the Garmin, the bike computer that you can have for maps and your speed and everything. But it also communicates, well, hey, there's a car coming. And it'll tell you how many cars are coming. And what I did is I created an app that intercepts some of the data that's coming from the radar to the computer, the bike computer, and it displays some of the additional data, like how fast the car is coming, and it also how many, and it also records the exact location of all the cars, which is the more interesting thing, because then you can go back later and you can see, you can start to build up this historical data, that is maybe a little bit more robust than I wouldn't say robust, because traffic engineers do a really good job of collecting that kind of data, but it's always targeted for like one specific spot. This is kind of a roving, you can get data from anywhere where there's not going to be any traffic studies.
And you have 900, 1,000 people are using this. Wouldn't it be great to have 1,000 more people and maybe even connect with Garmin so that they could implement this and maybe finish developing it out?
Yeah.
And that would be safety on this, the information that can be learned, it would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
So not everybody rides bikes, right? And so if somebody's out there and they're like, okay, I'd like to try something. What are the top, 3 tips on here's how to take a long bike ride, assuming that they have a bike or can rent a bike and the proper gear, helmet, and so on? What are some encouraging words you'd have for them?
Well, yeah, love it. I'll give you a good example. So when I just dropped my daughter off at college, is in a town that I don't really know the town well. I don't know where to ride or anything. And I just searched the name of the town and said bike ride. And here you got these maps that just pop up that tell you where to ride. Here's all these great places to ride. So and now some people who might be thinking about this, they might already have some ideas in mind, of where to ride. But if you don't, just try the internet. There's just some really good there's a lot of resources now about
what if they've never ridden and
so
I would like to jump into this.
Yeah, well, try to find bike shops are super helpful for that as well. The other story, I was driving across the country once trying to get back home, and I just drove straight into a bike shop in Cortez, Colorado. That was probably my first time ever being to the state of Colorado, back in the early 90s. And I'm like, hey, where should I go ride? And of course, they know exactly where to go ride. They have all their places, so they tell you. But they are also good resources for helping you get set up on a bike, or also, a lot of them have demo bikes even. So if you're thinking about, hey, I want to try this out.
Right.
Here's a bike that you know is going to be in good condition, and they'll tweak it for you and everything. And then, you can take it out, and they'll even tell you, where to ride. So bike shops are great resources.
Okay. That's a great tip.
Yeah. So, and really, it doesn't take long. You don't have to go on a long ride to have an adventure. So just even the shortest of rides can be quite entertaining, quite fun. Just a 2-3 mile ride. You are going to see something that you probably never seen before, just in that short of distance.
So get out there and ride.
Yeah.
When you're solo, you're around, you're doing your stuff, how do you connect with others? Like if you're by yourself, like how do you?
Oh, well, one good thing is there's a website called Strava, and many people who've done, running, hiking, or biking, it's really popular with biking, have probably used it or heard of it. But this website called Strava, when you upload your ride, you can see the other riders who have ridden that same area. And a lot of times, it's not exactly a full-blown messaging system, but you can comment on other people's rides. And so if you're able to see that, you could add a comment, say, hey, I'm new to town. That's one way to meet people. And again, of course, the bike shops as well.
Right. That is.
But if they're all on their own, no bike shops anywhere nearby, it's still a great way to connect with people in the area.
So these various apps.
Yes. Strava has an app to do all this too. It's not just a website. They've got the built-in app where you can do all this just straight on your phone with the app. You can even record the ride.
I'm on Strava, and it's a very good app. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that, because I am looking to go bag a peak on the border of Yosemite and the Ansel Adams National Forest. There's very few people have done this. Like I've searched it, and it's like 4.
Oh, wow.
That have recorded it. Now, of course, there's probably a lot more. So I went to peakbagger.com, found somebody who did it, and then I messaged them now. Whether they reply back, I don't know, but that is a great way to connect with others.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. Well, we need to wrap this up. And Brian, you are just a delight. Wow. Your adventures. I mean, I've never heard anything like this.
Well, thank you. This has been great chatting with you. And
that backcountry, again, helping people connect with God, others, and themselves. I think, I don't know, we haven't talked about this, but I think people today are more disconnected from themselves than ever. And the angst in our society and what's going on, and, whether it's politics or fiscal. And so, there's this angst. And what happens when people step out into nature, through bike riding, there is a reconnection with themselves that simply won't happen.
Yeah, there's too many distractions. Otherwise, if you're in your normal, just stepping out of your normal routine and seeing something new, it gives you a time to reflect on a lot of things, and you lose a lot of those those distractions that keep you from doing it.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and put your website up there, toonecycling.com. And can they comment on that site or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody does, but they're welcome to.
Be the first. Go to toonecycling.com. Tell Brian how incredible his journeys have been. And then also mybiketraffic.com for that app. Mm-hmm. And then look, backcountry.church. I'm so glad you've joined us for this time. Brian, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Backcountry, if you have not downloaded the app, make sure you go to Google Play or Apple App Store. Do that. Join us on all the social media, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And we will, again, see you at A Conversation With. Thanks, and God bless.